3 true scary stories for a rainy night alone. I don't know why rainy nights make everything worse. But for me, they always do. The sound of water dripping against the windows. The way the house seems quieter than usual. The way shadows feel heavier, it all just makes you notice things you normally wouldn't. This happened to me a few years ago. When I was living in a small rented house on the edge of town, I wasn't much older than 20, and it was the first time I'd ever lived alone. I thought I liked it at first, coming home to silence, not having to share the bathroom, eating cereal straight out of the box without anyone judging me. But on nights like this, when the rain came down hard and the power would flicker, the silence didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt like I was being left out of some conversation that the walls themselves were having. That night started out normal. I was in the living room with a blanket, scrolling through my phone, the sound of rain tapping against the glass. It was steady and hypnotic, the kind of sound that makes you feel cozy, even if you're a little lonely. I remember I had just muted a video when I thought I heard something faint behind me. At first, I brushed it off. It was probably just the house creaking from the storm. But a few minutes later, it came again. A sound almost like someone shuffling their feet on the carpet. Not walking exactly, more like dragging. I turned, but of course there was nothing. Just the dim light from the kitchen spilling into the hallway. My heart gave a small jump, but I told myself I was being ridiculous. It was a rainy night, I was tired, and houses made noises. Everyone says that. Still, I found myself turning the TV on just for background noise. The laugh track from some old sitcom filled the room, making me feel a little less alone. But as I sat there, pretending to scroll, my eyes kept drifting to the hallway. It was darker than usual. Like the light from the kitchen wasn't reaching as far as it should. At one point, I thought I saw movement like a shadow shifting near the bedroom door. I told myself it must have been headlights from a car outside, bouncing off the wet street, but I never heard a car pass. The rain drowned out most things, but it wasn't so loud that I would have missed it. Eventually, I got up to make tea. That's when I noticed something small but strange. The door to my bedroom was open. I was almost certain I'd closed it earlier because I always did before settling in the living room. Something about open doors made me uneasy when I was alone. Yet there it was, cracked open just enough that I could see darkness spilling out. I stood there, staring at it for longer than I want to admit. My brain kept going in circles. Did I close it? Did I forget? Was the latch loose? Maybe the draft from the storm pushed it open. That had to be it. I tried to laugh at myself as I walked over and pushed it shut again. This time, turning the knob tight. Back in the kitchen. As the kettle whistled, I thought I heard another sound, a soft thud. Like something falling over. It came from upstairs. My house didn't even really have a proper second floor. Just a small loft area above my bedroom where the landlord stored old furniture. I rarely went up there. The sound made me freeze, hand hovering above the stove. I told myself it was probably something shifting from the storm shaking the roof. But still, I didn't check. I couldn't. Later that night, I tried to sleep. I had left the TV on low in the other room, just so the silence wouldn't swallow me whole. I remembered drifting, then waking suddenly to the creak of my floorboards outside the door. Not the house groaning, no. Actual, deliberate footsteps, slow and spaced apart. Like someone taking their time not to be noticed. I held my breath, straining to listen, but the sound stopped. After what felt like forever, I convinced myself I dreamed it and eventually slipped into a restless sleep. The next morning, the rain had cleared and everything looked harmless again. The hallway wasn't dark, the shadows were gone, and the house felt ordinary. But I couldn't shake the unease. A part of me knew that night wasn't just in my head. Something had been moving around in my home. Like and subscribe if you want me to share the second part of what happened, because that's when things got a lot worse. The second part of this story happened only a few nights later, during another storm. By then, I had convinced myself I'd been overreacting before. Stress, imagination, too much coffee, it could have been anything. But when it started raining again, the memories came back. And I caught myself double-checking the locks, turning every light on. Even though I hated how paranoid it made me feel. That night, I was lying in bed, scrolling through my phone, when I heard it again. Not footsteps this time, but a faint scratching sound, like fingernails against wood. It was coming from the living room. I froze, staring at the ceiling, waiting for it to stop. But it didn't. Slow, steady, deliberate. I grabbed the flashlight I kept by my bed and forced myself to get up. My heart was pounding so hard it hurt. I told myself it could be branches from the storm brushing against the siding. That was logical. That was safe. But when I stepped into the living room, the sound wasn't at the window. It was at the front door. Like someone was dragging their nails down the wood from the outside. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then, suddenly, the scratching stopped. I stood there, trembling, waiting for a knock, waiting for something, but nothing came. Just silence and the endless rain. When I finally worked up the nerve to peek through the peephole, I swear I saw someone standing on the porch. Not close, not right against the door, but a few feet back, like they were waiting. The rain distorted the glass, but I could make out the faint outline of a figure. Tall, still, facing my door. I blinked, and they were gone. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, lights on, clutching the flashlight until morning. I tried to tell myself it was a trick of the rain, but deep down, I knew I hadn't imagined it. The following day, I noticed something else. A mug I'd left on the kitchen counter was gone. I tore the place apart, looking for its checked, the sink, the cupboards, even the trash. Nothing. A few hours later, I found it sitting on the stairs leading to the loft. I hadn't touched those stairs in weeks. The days that followed blurred together in a haze of unease. I started hearing whispers at night, faint and low, like someone speaking just beyond the walls. Objects would be out of place. My shoes would be lined up differently by the door. Once, I found my bedroom window cracked open. Even though I hadn't touched it, the breaking point came one night when I woke to find a note on my nightstand. just a small scrap of paper, damp like it had been in the rain. There was no handwriting, just a crude drawing of a figure standing outside a house. My house. I dropped it like it burned me. That was it, T. Couldn't stay there anymore. I left that morning with only a backpack, crashing at a friend's place for the rest of the lease. I never told the landlord what happened. I didn't want to explain the things I couldn't explain myself to this day. I don't know if it was a person messing with me or something else entirely. All I know is that every time it rains, I find myself staring out the window, half expecting to see that figure standing there again. Like